Jamunatira Vanacharim Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Radhanath Radha Radhanath Radhe Jaya Radha Radhanath Radha Radhanath Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Gaura Hare, Jaya Gaura Hare. Nitai Go Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Go Premanandi, Jayam Vishnupad, Paramamsa Parivrajikacharya, Dr. Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Granjaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Srila Vyasadeva Ki, Bhaktivedanta Purpose Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Taigo Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. The lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Narotumam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nasta Praisya Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Continuing, Canto 4, Chapter 8, Text 65. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. Raja Uvacha Suto me balako Brahman Suto me balako Brahman Strainaina karuna hatmana Atmana Strainaina karuna hatmana Nivasita panchavasha Nivasita panchavarsha Sahamatra mahan kave Sahamatra mahan kave Raja huvacha Sutome balako Brahman Strainaina karuna hatmana Nivasita pancavarsha Sahamatra mahan kave Raja huvacha Sutome balako Brahman Strainaina karuna hatmana Nivasita panchavasha Sahamatra mahan kave Raja uvacha Sutame balako Brahman Strainaina karuna hatmana Nivasita panchavasha Sahamatra mahan kavi Raja uvacha Sutome balako Brahman Strainaina karuna hatmana Nivasita pancavarsha Saha Matra Mahan Kavi. Sutame Balako Brahman. Trainena Karuna Hatmanaha. Nivashita Panchavasha. Saha Matra Mahan Kavi. Raja Uvacha. Sutame Balako Brahman. Srinena Karuna Hatmana. Nivashita Panchavasha. Saha Matra Mahan Kavi. Raja Uvacha. The king replied, Sutta, son, my Balaka, tender boy, Brahman, my dear Brahmana, Trainena, one is too addicted to his wife. Akuruna Hatmana, one is very hard of heart and without mercy. One who is very hard of heart and without mercy. Nivasitaha is banished. Panchavarsha, although the boy is 5 years old. Saha, with. Matra, mother. Mahan, great personality. Kavi, devotee. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. The king replied, O best of the Brahmanas, I am very much addicted to my wife, and I am so fallen that I have abandoned all merciful behavior, even to my son, who is 5 years old. I have banished him and his mother, even though he is a great soul and a great devotee. Can repeat responsibly. The king replied, O best of the Brahmanas, I am very much addicted to my wife, and I am so fallen that I have abandoned all merciful behavior, even to my son, who is only 5 years old. I have banished him and his mother, even though he is a great soul and a great devotee. Purport. In this verse, there are some specific words which are to be understood very carefully. The king said that since he was very much addicted to his wife, he had lost all his mercy. That is the result of becoming too affectionate towards women. The king had 2 wives. The first wife was Suniti, and the second wife was Suruchi. He was too attached to the second wife. However, so he could not behave well with Dhruva Maharaj. That was the cause of Dhruva's leaving home to perform austerities. Although as a father, the king was affectionate towards his son, he minimized his affection for Dhruva Maharaj because he was too much addicted to the second wife. Now he was repenting that both Dhruva Maharaj and his mother Suniti were practically banished. Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest, and since his mother was being neglected by the king, she was therefore almost banished too. The king repented, having banished this boy, for Dhruva was only 5 years old, and a father should not banish his wife and children or neglect their maintenance. Repentant over his neglect of both Suniti and his son, he was morose, and his face appeared withered. According to Manusmriti, one should never desert his wife and children. In a case where the wife and children are disobedient and do not follow the principles of home life, they are sometimes given up. But in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, this was not applicable because Dhruva was very mannerly and obedient. Moreover, he was a great devotee. Such a person is never to be neglected. Yet the king was obliged to banish him. Now he was very sorry. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksharum Malitam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunath Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The king replied, O best of the Brahmanas, I am very much addicted to my wife, and I am so fallen that I have abandoned all merciful behavior, even to my son, who is only 5 years old. I have banished him and his mother, even though he is a great soul and a great devotee. So the father of Dhruva Maharaj, King Uttanapat, was lamenting as he's praying here, and he's feeling very remorseful that he had committed such atrocious behavior just by being silent. Actually, being silent and you watch something that is wrong, you're also complicit. You become complicit in the crime. The crime was that his second wife, Suruchi, was very rude to Dhruva. She admonished him and chastised him in a very harsh way that he ran away crying. He felt so hurt. And he ran to his mother, of course. Only solace he could get was from his mother, and nothing from his father, who just stood silent and watching the whole scene. He could have done something. He could have. He's the father, he's the king. But he just remained silent, not participating in the... So this also irked Dhruva Maharaj. He became, why did my father say something? My father is, at that time, he was very affectionate to all of us. But just at this time, when I want to sit on his lap, and my stepmother, she forcefully grabbed me and pulled me out. So in this way, the events followed that he went to the forest and he met Narad Muni, and now he's initiated into the chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and in the Astanga Yoga, he's performing. But Narad Muni went back. Narad Muni is coming to the father, and this is the conversation going on between King Uttanapat and Narad Muni. So so he has given account of that. In the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, is an amazing chapter called the Forest of Enjoyment. It's an action allegory spoken by um, Sukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. He describes this, he compares the forest to a city, and this one businessman kind of, he goes into the city, but actually it's compared to a forest, the forest of enjoyment, and there he just gets sucked up into the environment of the city, and he was trying to do some business, and he's just enamored by the whole attraction of everything there. So this is very, very interesting. There's a few verses I picked up from there which describe such a situation as how one is caught up in the material world, in this forest of enjoyment. Sometimes, as if blinded by the dust of a whirlwind, the conditioned soul sees the beauty of the opposite sex, which is called pramada. But thus bewildered, he is raised upon the lap of a woman. But at the same time, his good senses are overcome by the force of passion. He thus becomes almost blind with lusty desires and disobeys the rules and regulations governed by sex life. He does not know that his disobedience is witnessed by different demigods, and he enjoys illicit sex in the dead of night, not knowing the future punishment awaiting him. So this is the scenario, isn't it, of this material world. We're so much caught up, attracted by the opposite sex. This is a sin throughout this material world. We all fall victim to that, sometimes succumb to such desires, like the Bhagavad Gita speaks, Krishna speaks in the 2nd chapter. Dayato visayam pumsam. While contemplating the object of the senses, one becomes attached. While contemplating the objects of the senses, what is the object of the senses? The eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, the sense of touch. While contemplating these things, one becomes attached, like boy sees girl, and girl sees boy, and there's some attraction there. And this is how material life starts. Attraction, attachment is there. This is all very nicely, graphically explained in the 2 verses in Bhagavad Gita. How one falls down into the material whirlpool. Just by this contemplation, starting from that contemplation of the object of the senses. So every conditioned soul, even the demigods, what to speak of the conditioned souls, even the demigods also fall prey to that. Isn't it? Like Indra, Brahma, Lord Shiva, all these great personalities also fell victim to that contemplation of the object of the senses. What to speak of us, mere mortals, how much more the material energy will affect us. Sometimes due to bodily anger and thirst, the conditioned soul becomes so disturbed that he loses his patience and becomes angry with his own beloved sons, daughters, and wife, thus being confused, sometimes the conditioned soul is attracted by illusion personified. Illusion personified, Prabhupada puts in brackets, wife and children. Illusion personified. The wife, he puts in brackets in that Prabhupada. Wife and children, actually it's a translation of that. And becomes eager to be embraced by a woman. Thus he loses his intellect as well as knowledge of life's goal. he becomes blinded. And he loses the actual goal of life, is to become free from all that. But such is the illusion, isn't it, of this material world. At that time, no longer attempting spiritual cultivation, he becomes overly attached to wife or girlfriend and tries to provide for them a suitable apartment. Again, he becomes very busy under the shelter of that home and is captivated by the talks, glances, and attitudes of his wife and children. In this way, he loses his Krishna consciousness and threw himself in the Jai Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai. And he throws himself in the dense darkness of material existence. So this is a scenario played out we're all conditioned souls experiencing the same thing, isn't it? Yes. The story of King Chitraketu. He had so many wives, but none could give him what he wanted. He was desiring to have a son, and he had something like 200 queens, or maybe more. And they could not give him a son. And he was feeling very despondent because he was getting old, and naturally the king has to have a heir to leave behind his legacy. So he was very, very despondent. And as he was thinking like that, what to do, Narad Muni and Hangira Muni happened to come to his palace. And they saw it in his makeup that he was not very, he looked very, sadhus can pick up, they can see the index of your face, and that tells whole stories, and they can read, something is troubling you, something is not right. So they inquired from him. And he told them, yes, I'm worried, I don't have a heir to the throne, I don't have a son. And he begged them to do something so that he could get a son. Although according to his karma, his karmic reactions, he was not meant to get a son. He was not. But somehow he begged the sadhus, and they prepared a concoction of something like sweet rice, like paviso, something like that. And he said, you give this to your queen, the chief queen, and within days she will get pregnant. And as whatever they said, true to the word, she became pregnant. And it was great joy to the old kingdom that the queen is pregnant and she will bear a son in due course of time. And when the time did come, of course, Maharaj. But they said also, this child will be a source of joy, and this child will be a source of lamentation. But he did not care of this. He did not worry at that time of lamentation. He said, even if this boy grows up to be disobedient, I couldn't care. I have a son, that's the most important thing. He didn't care about the lamentation part. So the child was born, and of course there was great jubilation in the kingdom. There were celebrations and big partying and so on going on, festive mood to celebrate. Meanwhile, the co-queens, they were very sad. They were very sad to see one queen is happy and we are barren, we can't have children, or we don't have, so they became very envious. And they conspired. They will poison this child. they will poison this child. And they did, yes, and this child died. He died from the poisoning. Oh. And, of course, there was great sadness. The queen who waited so long to have this child, and the king, Chitraketu, he was just so morose. He just couldn't get over this. Sukadeva Goswami explains, being neglected by their husbands and seeing Kirta duty. Kirta duty was the main queen that was having the child, who had the child. Kirta duty's opulence in possessing a son. Kirta duty's co-wives always burned in envy, which became extremely strong. So, after the child had passed on, so Narad Muni, and they trying to pacify him, the king, and with these words, they said, "My dear king, now you're actually experiencing the misery of a person who, as sons and daughters, O king, owner of the state of Surasen, one's wife, his home, the opulence, his kingdom, and his various other opulences and objects of sense perception are all the same in that they are temporary. They are temporary. One's kingdom, military, power, treasury, servants, ministers, friends, and relatives are all causes of fear, illusion, lamentation, and distress. They are like a Gandharva Nagara, a non-existent palace that imagines to exist in the forest. Because they are impermanent. They are no better than illusion, dreams, and mental concoction." So they were trying to enlighten him to come out of this stupor of material existence. The child was a source of joy, but when he died, they started, a source of lamentation, very painful. So, in a similar, we see here in the case of Dhruva, when Dhruva left, his father was lamenting like that. He was only 5 years old, and it's the duty of the father and Shastra that one should not become a parent, not become a guru, not become a teacher, if he cannot deliver his dependence. If he cannot, he should not become these things. Don't become a parent if you know you cannot give them deliverance from this material world. Bringing children into this world means you are just entangling them in the suffering. And of course, you will also experience the same thing, the suffering. And the duty of the father, especially the father, is to give them God realization, make them God realized. Like we see in the case of, in this 5th canto, it's a very nice pastime of King Rishabdev. King Rishabdev, very enlightened king. He was self-realized. And he had 100 sons. And what he's telling them, don't get into household life. Don't get entangled. Household life is for hogs and dogs in that very gross way. Especially if one is just engaged in household life, like a Griya Murdi, simply for sense gratification. Then it's no better than hogs and dogs. Yes, but if one, of course, marriage is not taboo. Marriage is allowed in the Varna ashram. Is there. Krishna says, "Chatur Vaino Mahashishtam Guna Karma Vibhaga Saha." I've created these 4 divisions of society. The spiritual and the social divisions are there. Spiritual and social go side by side. But the focus of that, I'm the central focus, Krishna is saying, of that. And this is like Varnashram is stepping stone to become Krishna conscious. One should have that realization that yes, also life is there, but under some restriction. Yes, under some restriction. Otherwise, it's simply sense we are getting children like cats and dogs, begetting children like cats and dogs, and that becomes sometimes out of lust, like Arjuna is in the first chapter Bhagavad Gita, is saying when women become exploited, when women become exploited, what happens? There's Varna Sankara. Varna means unwanted progeny. And what is the result of that? They become criminals. And they give society, they give trouble to society. They don't respect. They become thieves and rogues. Disrespectful even to their own parents. Yes. So this is the Arjuna was making this point, isn't? Who will protect the woman if all the men go to war? Who will protect the whole folk? Who will protect the children? So like that he was reasoning in a very reasonable way. But then Krishna countered. No. He says these enemy have to be killed. In that way you are protecting. If you kill all the enemy, then you are actually protecting Varnashram, the woman. Otherwise you will become implicated in this so-called Varna Sankara, unwanted, bringing unwanted progeny to the world. So we see that throughout this world, we see this is happening. In so many, you look the stats of I was shocked to hear when I was doing the prison program in the 90s, mid-90s, there were 7,000 prisoners in the maximum security prison in Westville. I would go every Wednesdays and spend an hour with these like maximum security means they are the they are the worst prisoners you can get. They are like on death row or going life sentence. But nevertheless, they were very receptive to be Krishna conscious. They were actually, and they were very, because they incarcerated for so long. What is the only thing is to hear some good advice, and they would look forward to that time, that hour or so, and very nicely ask questions. Because material world is a prison house anyway. So you're in a prison within a prison. Doesn't matter whether you're A-class prisoner or B-class prisoner or criminal. You are still within the material. But when you go, it means you have to become rehabilitated. So we are here for that purpose. Why we in the material world? To rehabilitate ourselves and don't come back again. You're in a taste of prison, you don't want to go back. Unless you're habitual criminal. Like you get habitual criminals who they become misfits in society. They cannot function. They become dysfunctional. They're better off inside. Yeah, because inside you get everything. You get your food found. You get a bed to sleep. You can watch telly. You can go out and not outside the prison, but they have some excess curricular activities, like they have, if you like boxing, you like to study, they will facilitate that. If you want to continue your studies and get your, a lot of, Mandela did that. He studied law in prison and he graduated. The 27 years he was incarcerated, he was studying. And many of them was. And also there's facilities like that. So when you have all these facilities, then you think, it's better inside here. I'm much better off here. So, this is the realization we should get from all these verses we read. How this forest of enjoyment, this material world, this city is like a forest of enjoyment. Forest of enjoyment. In a forest, the deeper you go, the more you get lost, isn't? So material life is like that. Material life, the more you get involved in it, the more you get caught up in it, the more difficult it is to come out of it. Entanglement. This entanglement is so tense, isn't? And Krishna compares that, another comparison he gives of the metaphor he uses in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Yes? You don't know? Chapter 15. What does he compare this world to? Upside down. He gives the example of the analogy of the banyan tree, isn't it? The banyan tree is if you look at the banyan tree, if you don't see one, you can go to the botanic gardens. Right at the entrance, as soon as you enter, you'll see one. It's a very complex tree. The roots are going into the ground and coming up into branches. Very, very complex. And he compares that to material life. Like a banyan tree, just very, very intense, difficult to come out of. The fruits of that tree, they're all symbolic. The fruits of the tree represent Dharma, Hatha, Moksha, Kama. The tips of the branches, the senses, the object of the senses. The leaves are like the Vedic hymns, isn't? The Vedic hymns that, like the Sama Veda, they just promote material life, isn't? Of sacrifices, performing jagyas, and for some material benefit. So the leaves are symbolic of that. They are like the Vedic hymns. So like that, and the ground is compared to, he says, the start of material life. Because the tree grows from the ground, isn't it? The ground and it's nourished by the three modes of material nature. This tree is nourished by the three modes of. So, when we're in the material world, in a conditioned state, we are very much under the modes of material nature. Yes, the modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. All of us come under the stringent laws of the material nature. Therefore, it's very, very difficult to get out. And Krishna is saying in Bhagavad, Daivisha Gunamai. These modes, they're very difficult, this divine nature of mind. Daivisha Gunamai Mama Maya Durachaya. Very difficult to overcome. Very, very difficult. But one who surrenders to me, Mayam etam tarantite, one can easily cross beyond it. Surrender. He wants us surrender. We understand, we have this intelligence, isn't that, can see that we are suffering by observing others, by observing the animals, by observing different facets of this world. We can see that it's not a good place. Dukkhalayam, Shashvatam. Krishna is saying like that. or sometimes they refer to Mrityu Loka. Mrityu Loka. Mrityu means death, the place of death, dying. That's what this material world is. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vihari. These four things everyone has to go through. When they take birth, then there's old age, Jara. Then there's disease, Vihari. And finally there's Mrityu, death. We cannot escape that. We cannot. This material body has to go through these. And to add to that, the threefold miseries are also there. Therefore, Krishna is saying, very, very difficult to get out of this material world. But the moment we surrender to Him, yayatamam prapadyanti, as you surrender, I reward you accordingly. As you surrender. And the more, to that degree we surrender, the proportionate Krishna will give us the intelligence, give us the means of how we can come out of this material suffering. Like these great person. Bhagavatam is full of these stories. They're not just fables, no. They are not fables or myths, mythological. Sometimes they use their allegories to make a point, to express the importance, a very vital point has to be, and they use these allegories or metaphorical expressions, but it's not mythological. Bhagavatam is not. Bhagavatam is fact. It is true. Bhagavatam, we can live Bhagavatam because we are getting nourishment from the Bhagavatam by hearing these wonderful stories, and we take shelter of these great personalities who went through by the realization, and we've learned something from. Otherwise, what is the point of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita? No, they are revealed scriptures for us to take shelter of. They are the revealed scriptures, and the more we take shelter of that, the more we hear Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Seva. You should pay auto reception to Bhagavatam. How? Regularly. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Regularly hear Bhagavatam. In this way, all these so-called suffering or illusion can be dissipated. Can be dissipated. And we'll experience a new kind of zest for spiritual life. And we see spiritual life is so wonderful that it gives us relief. It relieves us from all the material suffering. Although we may experience some token, like we have, this body is made to give you pain, isn't it? A toothache or stomach ache, pain in the back, pain, rheumatics, headaches. That is there. That's some token we have to live with till we die. This body will give you pain until you die. But somehow, by the spiritual upliftment, we can learn to live with that. We can ride that and go back home, back to Godhead, like this. So this is the sum and substance of this, of becoming realized. Otherwise, our life is just futile. We don't learn something from this. But after we've been coming and going for so many lifetimes, now in this lifetime, with this family, the tendency also, that is the illusion. We think, oh, this is my family, this is my... but we had so many families. Like the son of Chitraketu, Narad Muni and Yangi, they were praying for him to, by the mystic power, this child came back to life. And he was preaching to his parents. He says, "What are you lamenting for? What are you crying for? I've had so many parents before. I have so many mothers and fathers." So like that he was preaching to them. So yeah, this is the illusion, that how we become so caught up in this. We lose a loved one. Of course, we feel some pain, and we lose. We have to live with that. One who takes birth, that is certain. Krishna is saying like that. One who dies, birth is certain. This is unavoidable. And the samsara of birth and death. But what we do with that is important. What we do with this life. Life has no value. The human body has no value. It's useless if it's not used in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's a nice. What is the use of legs? They are just like tree trunks. If they cannot not used for walking to the temple, one cannot use them to come to the. They are just like tree trunks. The tree stands for thousands of years in one place. It cannot move. So one does not use, then it's like tree trunks compared to. What's the use of eyes if they don't come to see the Lord? They are just like the eyes of a peacock. Peacock seemingly is as is all his, but they are not eyes actually. They are just so this like that. And what is the use of a king's turban if he does not bow down to the lotus feet of the Lord? It just becomes a burden. His crown is very heavy. It's made of jewels and gold. And what is the use of it if it does not use to bow down before the Supreme Lord? It simply becomes a burden. Yeah. And what is the use of the ears? They're compared to like high ears of a snake. A snake actually has it cannot hear. You know this? The nature of snakes. They don't have ears, but they pick up vibration. They can pick up heat. The body gives off heat, or if there's a prey, they can pick up the heat, and that's how they attack the whatever through vibration. But they cannot. So if one's ears is not used for hearing the glories of the Lord, or chanting the holy names of the Lord and hearing, then it's compared to like snake holes. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Yes?
Thank you so much, Jai Prabhu. You were speaking about how a person should not be a parent or a teacher if they're not able to personally deliver their dependence, but such people may feel personally that they cannot actually deliver their dependence. Yeah. How can they still best engage them in Krishna's service or help assist their children in Krishna consciousness?
How? Well, they must surrender to Krishna. They should surrender to Krishna, surrender to a spiritual master. We all feel unqualified ourselves. Therefore, we have spiritual master to guide us. Why we all have, to an extent, we are conditioned, isn't? And the duty of is to take us out of that conditioning of the bodily concept of life, attachment. Isn't? Therefore, we have spiritual masters to guide us. So the parents should also ideally become a role model or exemplary in that, so the child. These samskars, they call impressions, from very young, they should impose that, isn't it, on the children. I have many stories like I'll speak about Rasastali. I've seen pictures of her. going with the father to Caterage, and they were doing, I think they were doing Go Puja, and she was watching all this from that age. You understand? So these impressions, and she grew up to be a nice devotee. She's still a nice devotee. She surrendered to Krishna. She surrendered to us. She has a spiritual master. But the father may not be a full-time, but he gave her that, isn't? At least in that way, he gave her a gift of Krishna consciousness, indirectly. Directly. Yeah, so somehow, even if we are not capable, we can be like, Vatma Pradakshaka. A Vatma Pradakshaka may not necessarily be a full 100% devotee, maybe, but he may have told you, go to the temple, and you listen to him. He may be a drunkard or like that or something, but he gave you that, so in that way, Vatma Pradakshaka, he gave you instructions. Or he may have given you a book, but he may not be practicing himself, and you became a good devotee. Understand? So like that. So the parents can do that. If they not feel they are not capable, they can guide them to somebody. At least give them that instruction. Please do this. Don't follow I'm not a good example. Isn't? So that is a good parent. Yes. He knows his limitations. But ideally, they should bring up children in a way that they will remember and always think of so these impressions or samskars we create, and they will always stay with them. Even when they have children, they will bring the children to the temple. Because my parents did it, brought us, so now they have children. We see that so many children who grew up here, they married, and now they're coming with their children to the temple. So it's good. So that is exemplary. Yeah. All right.
I do have another question. Although we as practicing devotees understand theoretically the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and we're engaging our senses in the service of the Lord, still attachment for the opposite sex or for children can be very strong. So how do we avoid becoming distracted by that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sometimes we may try, but sometimes it's beyond our control. We may try to get him Krishna, but what happens? Like we see today, like we read stories of the Gurukul. So many of them, they just went astray after that, isn't it? Although their parents had good intentions of bringing them and taking them to Gurukul and giving them that kind of, exposing them to that kind of from very young. But how they sometimes it's beyond our control, but we can try. We should try. Whatever happens beyond our Krishna is controlling everything, but we can try. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Jaisacinandana.
Yes. Come closer. The mic is not so loud.
Okay. So my question, Jayaprabhu, it's about having children outside of. I'm trying to make a comparison in my mind. Krishna consciousness. If you have a child outside of marriage, then does the principle apply in other relationships? Not to criticize or anything, just for my understanding. Like if a child is married to a Christian, a child is born to a Christian, is married, that's still
No, in all religion there's some good values, is there?
according to our.
No, we should not look down upon that. No, we should not. We're not. Prabhupada didn't teach. Prabhupada taught us to embrace all religions, except.
The important thing is that they marry.
Yes, in good intentions they may have. We don't know what consciousness they made. I wasn't there. But you can tell by the way the child is brought up. You can say, isn't it? The child behaves. We used to have a joke like that. Anyway, it's a bit gross. when a child is a bit unruly and he's just out of control. And we would say, he's not a 50 rounder. That child is not a 50. We used to joke like that. Like Prabhupada would say, if you want to decide to have a child, you should chant 50 rounds. Isn't it? By the time you chant 50 rounds, you'll forget about the whole thing. You'll become purified of those thoughts. So sometimes, we see children unruly. They just,
Just another question. It's a funny one, but so now when we're preaching, how do you, like, in a nice way, say the child is so that the
no,
it's a tricky
we can see that where the child is, the route he's taking, he becomes like disrespectful to his parents. He wants to fight, hit his parents. Like we see in the case of Vaina. There's a beautiful story. Vaina was just a misfit, Yeah, if he's got criminal intention from small, he has his intention from small. That means he's just got bad karma. But still, we should try and don't. Every mother is attached to their child. Parents are attached, even with respect to what they are, isn't? They will try their utmost to. That is attachment for the child. He's still my child, whether he goes to prison or he becomes a criminal. He's still their child. It's just that due to circumstances, that can be different so many ways of bad association. Just in the wrong company. We all been through that. Myself personally, I could say I was like the black sheep of my family, isn't? Like that, but we learn from that. We learn. We learned, and then there's a turnaround. Everybody can turn around. There's always hope, isn't that? We can make about turn and come back. And then that we please the parents. When I joined the Hare Krishna movement, my mother was always criticizing, very critical of me, because the way I live, my type of lifestyle, doing all the contrary to what what is normal life. So when she heard that I joined the temple, I joined Hare Krishna movement, she was very skeptical. So she went to a person who gets trance, to these temples, and he said, my son joined the temple. What do you think? He did a good thing? And then, so the person in the trance, he nodded in appreciation. He smiled. Then my mother was convinced I did the right thing. So in that way, she blessed me. In that way, she forgave me for all my. So we all can. There's hope, there's always conditioning, and we can uncondition ourselves also. And then make all this. And Krishna wants that. Nobody in Krishna's eyes, Krishna will turn away, even the worst of persons. They always chant that, provided they make that turnabout. Because Krishna gives us free will. What we do with the free will, that's another thing. Misuse. All right? Jai Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai. Thank you very much. Very well. Thank you. Where's my water? I didn't drink the water. Where's the water?